It's two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? Welcome. I'm so grateful for all of you that are tuning in. I know that you're here because you're very interested about, conscious men and what does it take for men to become more conscious, and what are these guys talking about? What's been discovered about men and male stereotypes, and what created the patriarchy? What created the issues we see today with men and therefore in our world as a result? So I'm looking forward to sharing these 25 initial interviews that I've got going on for you that are being released little bits at a time here in the next several weeks, a couple of weeks at this point. And I know that there's a larger opportunity for us to awaken and deepen, like with all of the things that I do, into a deeper truth, into a deeper understanding of what's going on. I love to share things that will provoke people to some degree, but mostly will illuminate what are the real issues that men deal with. Some of them may surprise you, some of them may just underscore some things that maybe you already suspect, but it will deepen your own consciousness and awareness, whether you're a man or a woman listening to this series. I know there are a number of you, probably half of you, that are going to be women. I've done other projects, and that's what I found. Like half the people tuning in are actually women wanting to know more. How can I support my son? How can I support my husband? How can I support my partner? How can I support even my nephew or something like that? So how can I support men in the world and maybe get this information to them too? Like, listen to these guys talking, look at what they discover, look at their path of evolution. So it's going to be enormously beneficial. And so my whole thrust, the personal reason I've been guided to share all this with you is for a number of years, I feel it's not as intense lately, maybe before, maybe at least that's just my personal experience, is that there's been a huge push, especially for white men, that, let's I don't know, almost feels like let's get rid of them. They've been in the way. They're the ones causing all the problems. They've had their time. Let's push them to the side. To the back of the bus, as one of the speakers talks about. And many of us conscious guys are like, sure, fine, we don't mind the back of the bus. That's no problem. And in fact, some of us are like, I'll even get off the bus. I don't care. I want more goodness in the world. I want women to feel amazing and be powerful and lead the way now, and getting behind the feminine energy fully. And there's a lot of energy there. So one of my questions, though, has been, what about the men? Like, I've been helping women for a long time, and vast majority of my clients have always been women. That's changed a little bit in recent years, but not that much. It's still predominantly women. And even before I got into doing healing, coaching, training, and everything online, I had a history of really being with women and supporting women in various ways. So as a counselor, and in my family, it's like it's always women. Like, it's like all my daughters are all girls. Obviously my daughters are girls. I'm saying like all my children are girls. I have one sister. I had, the list goes on and on. My sister had one child. It was a daughter, right? So yeah, she is a daughter, or whatever. The list goes on and on and on and on. There's just a lot of examples. I have grandkids, believe it or not. Many people don't believe that about me, but I have some grandkids through my stepdaughter. And what are they? They're also beautiful women, girls growing up, girls world. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I continue to say, what about the men? Men have been demonized. Men have been made wrong. Is there justification for that? Yeah, and maybe no, like both. So there's been a co-creation of what people call this patriarchy, and what I wanted to do is bring conscious men together. Honestly, a number of these interviews, men try to interject and say, I'm all for women, though. I'm all for women. They try to, go there, and I could even feel on an energetic level that there's many men that want to apologize for all the things that happened with men in the past, especially, and then also even to today, the ills of what's going on with men and what men are doing in the world. And I don't have an ultimate answer to whether that's correct or not, other than there's issues going on in the world. I could make the argument as good as anybody. I get the argument. Like, men have been in power. Men are bringing men into wars and women now. So men are the ones that tend to be in all the most powerful positions in the world. Is it always true? No, but often has been true over these last how many, hundreds of years or more. I don't know. I'm not a big historian, but some of my speakers are more versed in there. You can learn more and more from them. But it's been for a long time. Some people say it's been thousands of years of patriarchy, and then used to be a matriarchy, and it used to be all about the women and the feminine, and that was honored. And I don't know. I mean, there's debates even about history sometimes when you start going back thousands of years. So I'm sure there's truth and maybe non-truth to everything. I'm all about what do we know about the truth, and exploring it, knowing we'll always sort of fail, ultimately getting to the absolute truth, because who knows what that is. But my mission here was to illuminate, like, why are men the way they are? What created men, feeling the need to dominate and to control and to subjugate each other, and in many cases women as well, of course, been part of it. I can't deny that. Also, I would say, though, I mean, that many men through all this time period have honored and been subservient to women in many cases. There's no denying that either. And the women have been in charge in their own way throughout this period in certain situations and certain scenarios. And that's undeniable. There's undeniable, like, case for good guys that just things don't work out in a marriage, and all of a sudden they can barely see their kids, right? I mean, even though both people work now, and it's all equality increasingly for men and women, even though you could scream and rail that it's not, but there's a lot of that. There's more women in college than men. There's a lot of women rising, and yet when men go to court, good guys, not these horrible guys necessarily, what happens? Okay, they'll be with their mom. It's starting to change some. I know, I understand. You're not updated. You're not updated. I hear that on certain subjects, and people say that they always go to the exceptions, but still, predominantly, kids end up more so with mom, seen as better. going to say it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, wow, there's a sense of loss for a lot of dads. They're expected to, it depends. I guess whoever's making more money and all that, I guess all that is very much accounted for, but often men bear a lot of responsibility financially, disproportionately to women in those cases. Not always. It could be the other way around. There's just one issue. There's so many issues. All the men suicide, all the men increasingly on drugs and addicted. And yes, all these interviews were focused primarily on men, but there's also some discussions about things in general with what's going on and with women and the interaction of everything. And because there's so much that's covered in 25, really discussions, or me talking, them talking. You'll learn a lot about me. If you've known me for a while, maybe you're continue to be a little curious about Daniel and want to know more about me. Well, you'll definitely learn more about me during this whole podcast and series. And you'll learn a lot about these men that I'm talking with too. So what are some of the things I can tell you as a sneak preview? Why should you listen? Well, this isn't an apology tour to women, like we're so sorry, although you might hear that come across in some ways. It's not an apology tour to a free pass to men and all the things that men have done and all that. It's not that either. It's just getting to like understanding what's been going on for these particular men. What have they noticed and seen for themselves and their journey with male stereotypes? And then how have they been able to shift through those stereotypes about men, which I'll talk about what those stereotypes are in a moment. You'll hear about it. I'll recap some of them in a moment. And then you'll hear about them, during all these interviews. So interviews, conversations, are really more conversations, most of them. So how have we balanced feminine, masculine? Is there a place for the fierce masculine, or like just get rid of that sucker? It's all feminine now, and one of the things that, again, is probably not true, but it feels sometimes like women are so into the feminine and they're so focused there. Some women, again, smaller numbers, probably not most women, but we get so focused on women that, again, we're not putting any attention to, or not enough, in my opinion, to what's going on with men. We're just like, they're wrong. It's all about women now, get out of the way. A lot of the conversations are, I must admit, are a lot of white guys. And I did deeply consider that, should we have more diversity? We need more diversity and all that. And I think what happened is I definitely found men that are not white that you'll find that are part of this series. I definitely want to go deeper into more diversity ultimately, but I thought for this first series, which I likely will do more series ahead, maybe in more focused, specific topics with men going forward with this podcast, if you're hearing it there, or whatever format you're hearing this material in right now. But for right now, I was like, let's talk to the white guys. Let's talk to, seeing as they're the ones that are demonized the most, it seems like, in a way, I guess you could make other arguments, but often we are most demonized. So let's start there. I do have some diversity. So you'll see those various cultural viewpoints, from different cultures treat men differently. So I definitely want to deepen into that in series ahead. But yeah, there's a lot of white guys in this particular, rendition. And I think, we need more love and understanding for those that are being demonized even the most, right? So otherwise, how do we all evolve? How do we all get more conscious? So anyway, so some of the things you'll hear from the guys will be repetitive, but I think it's important to hear again and again. One of the main stereotypes with men is you need to be tough. You need to be tough, you need to be strong, and show no weaknesses. So that's sort of all combined. So you just can't. You can't show weakness. You cannot show any weakness. And if you show weakness, you could be bullied, you could be made fun of, you could be seen as inadequate, you could be seen as too girly, you could be seen. We do have some diversity in terms of the age range. I would say, I don't know if I had any, maybe I had, yeah, maybe I've had some, maybe as young as in their 20s in this series. And then I've had people in their 30s, I believe, and then all the way up to, I think, 70, I think is maybe the age range of men. And so you get to hear, like, it's a little bit different, each situation, each scenario, and then what time frame they grew up in, what some of these stereotypes are. But the one around got to be tough and all that stuff, like most of the core stereotypes are the same. They're just not that different in terms of the core. The permutations may be a bit different, so you'll get to see that. So there's something for all of you, most of the age ranges of people that be listening to this. So yeah, but there's been a conscious journey. Most of them, many of them have done a lot of work on, I mean, all of them have done a lot of work on themselves, and most of them done very specific men's work on themselves. Some of them support men, some of them do men's work out there. I don't particularly do necessarily men's work. I'm an intuitive business coach, an energy healer, a channeler, host of Spiritual Rockstar podcast as well. Which is all dedicated to supporting light leaders to bring truth into the world, more truth, knowing there is no absolute truth. We could be as delusional as anybody potentially on those shows at times. We don't know, but our arrow is in that direction to go to deeper truth, things that maybe in the mainstream at least are not being talked about enough: health, business, relationships, etc. So everything, and even taking new views on LOA and spirituality sometimes and things like that. So getting through the myths of success as a spiritual entrepreneur, as well as the target on that show is a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs. Anyway, back to what's going to happen in this series is just really wonderful conversations where you're going to understand these stereotypes. So another one, it has to do with basically all the same thing, is like the vulnerability, not feeling like you could share your emotions, share your vulnerability with people. You can't show that. Again, that's weakness. Emotions are seen as weakness. Whereas, with women, that's true sometimes, but more so, it's like, okay, let's nurture you. You're having some emotions come up, where historically, at least, maybe it's changing some now. But with men, it's like, hey, man up and all that sort of thing. And just seen as, you're not, the idea of needing, also the idea of being a real man came up multiple times as well. Like, what does it mean to be a real man? You must, be interested in certain things. You need to pursue women in certain ways. You need to, love cars. You need to be more aggressive. We're trained that way. So, and then that there's a biological, more of a psychological mandate. Some of it's biological, but like there's an evolutionary and a DNA level, and therefore a psychological level, like imperative that men are to protect, men are to be strong. And so yeah, so this whole thing of, let's say it's true that there is truth to it, that women used to be more in charge or whatever, there's the matriarch, okay, and we shifted to patriarchy all these years, and now there's a shift happening with that increasingly. I could have very deep discussions about all that. What are the forces that created it? So what created it, you'll hear in the interviews for each person, but some of it created by the model their father gave them. This is what it means to be a real man. In order to get you to behave, I need to slap you around. That's what men do to other men. We slap each other around. Or, how were we shown, we need to have success in certain ways. You need to make a lot of money. You need to provide for your family. You're expected to be the one to do it, right? So a lot of tension, a lot of stress, like you have to achieve financially or else you're nothing. Um, there's a lot of these things, in the male psyche that are embedded from evolutionary forces. We could say patriarchy all we want, but there's some evolutionary forces, and then there's the cultural conditioning, of course, as well. So, which has been informed what? All by the guys? No, I don't think so. I think it's like just in the consciousness, right? So I think it's everything, it's all of it. So I'm grateful that you're tuning in. I'm grateful for you to see what you to confirm things maybe you already know about guys moving through male stereotypes and wanting to become more conscious, more evolved, and to explore that and explore your own path. Like, where can you shift more? What stereotypes have you been facing? For the men that are listening, what have you been facing? How can you move through those things? Those opportunities are in these discussions. And then how about for women? Women can get a better understanding of their men in their lives. And I know, like, in the past, women like to share these things with men. So go ahead and do it. I heard someone say this on another broadcast today. I think it's a cool way to do it. They're like, yeah, can you just text someone this episode or whatever and share what we're doing? And that is brilliant because it doesn't take that much time. Usually there's share buttons. Hopefully there are where you are, but just take the literal URL and just send it to a guy or fellow men that you have. If you have a men's circle or whatnot, just share it. I mean, it's just a resource. I mean, they can listen in or not. It's no big deal either way. Do we have the biggest names in the industry and everything on the show? Well, we have some very powerful leaders in this series, period. And then we have people that are well known, people that aren't so well known at all. So you're getting a variety of people in that way. People that are transformational leaders have big followings, some of them very big followings with their work, and other people who barely are known. They're just kind of ordinary guys. We're all ordinary, but like they don't have some big coaching, kind of training or healing business or something. Many of them have those types of scenarios going. Most all of them do. So you are getting some, if I'm being scientific about it, the sample data is, skewed in certain ways. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing this project, going forward because I'm taking a scientific approach. I mean, I'm not a full clinical psychologist because I never got my PhD, but I got my master's in clinical psychology. So although I'm not setting this up as a structured scientific study, I'm approaching some of it in that direction. And I'm looking forward to continuing to explore this in that light, like continue to look at it in that light. And there's going to be a lot of support, I believe, that'll continue to come through what I'm doing with this podcast. More things. There's discussions of books and movies, and to bring illumination to what's been going on with men, how men want to evolve, how they want to be shifted, what support do they need, rather than probably just keep yelling at them and demonize them. That'll definitely, make everything really good, right? Like that just doesn't make any sense to me but yeah, we do it with men sometimes, and then we do it with other groups, and I've been guilty of that sometimes myself. So we all are called to wake up more, 100% on every level, from the heart space, with clear understanding of everything, so that we can all deepen into waking up into more love and truth and more goodness, and evolve ourselves and our consciousness. So and therefore we can all evolve in so many different ways. So anyway, I'm so grateful for you being here. And there's other things, of course, that are discussed and addressed during these discussions, because they're free-flowing discussions. So we don't always know where it's going. They weren't scripted. They were very just organic conversations with one or two kind of focuses, with the male stereotypes, moving through them. What were they? Sometimes I would focus too, like I said, the balancing of feminine and masculine, what came up in a number of the discussions. So yeah, so enjoy. I guess my point is enjoy, you guys. I mean, if you feel called to grow and expand in your consciousness in this area at this time in your life, I am so grateful for you to listen to as many as you can. Go ahead and share them with others in the world. So I'm so grateful that you're here, and I look forward to being the greatest support I can to all you men and women that want to help guys evolve and become more conscious, as we all, and help everyone become more conscious around this whole, men have been in charge, there's the patriarchy, and how can we get these guys to shape up kind of mentality? Well, let's start by understanding. Let's start by listening and see examples of how it's already happening, and how can we continue to deepen that. So you'll have your own insights, your own maybe movements to create from this for some of you, or you'll just be able to help some more men and women out there, within this whole frame of what we're sharing. All right, everybody, I'm just so grateful to share these wonderful conversations with you. Enjoy. Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.